WAKA Channel 8. It's 5:30.
Macon County Sheriff cracks down on drugs. You could see an increase in your power bills thanks to President Reagan's new tax plan.
Arthur Brimmer calls off his parole hearing. The heat wave continues, and recruiting news tops the sports.
This is Action 8 News at 5:30. Your first look at Central Alabama's news with Leighton Spann, Tom Conway in the Weather Center, and Rich Haney with Central Alabama Sports.
Good evening. He doesn't want a parole hearing. This is what 34-year-old Arthur Brimmer, who gunned down Governor George Wallace in Laurel, Maryland, is saying. The word came today from a parole of your power bill. Edward L. Addison, president of the Southern Company, parent company of Alabama Power, made the statement today. Addison says that the proposal would penalize capital-intensive industries, and this, he says, would cut Southern Company's cash flow by $150 million per year, therefore increasing costs to you. Some Dallas County residents were concerned today as downtown Selma, a 21-year-old man has been charged with murder following a domestic dispute. Marcella Dixon was charged in the stabbing death of 52-year-old David Green. According to police reports, Dixon tried to enter Green's home at 908A Cleveland Avenue. Green pulled a gun on Dixon, but Dixon then grabbed a knife and stabbed Green to death. Get involved. That was the message delivered to the Alabama Peace Officers Association earlier today. The group on drug abuse. This story still ahead on Action 8 News right after we take you to a unity rally featuring the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
News coverage each day at noon, 5:30, and 10 on Action 8 News.
Alabama's 8 brings you 3 hours of information to start your day. Following the CBS Early Morning News, watch Ag Day at 5:30.
Then at 6, join us for the CBS Morning News. If it's making headlines, we'll report it. Plus, we'll bring you a fresh approach to topics you can use all day. Watch us every weekday morning.
Right here on WAKA, Alabama's 8.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson was in Selma yesterday to give his support to those who have become known as the Marion Three, all accused of voting fraud. Jackson took part in a unity rally. From the very complex world of medicine, our Dr. Dina Dell has an update tonight. It's about that high-pressure drug that offers hope to those with impotence. Tonight on Action 8 News at 10 o'clock, we'll take a closer look at mental health, the past, the present, and the future. Also, with women doing more and more in the workplace today, you'll find out about one job that you usually don't think of a woman having. All this, plus sports and weather later tonight on the Clear Choice, Action 8 News. Right now, Tom Conway is over at Weather Center 8, and Tom tells me it's been so hot for so long over Alabama that the Weather Service is issuing a heat alert. What exactly does this mean?
Well, Leighton, a heat alert means the situation is really getting serious. There's a good chance of heat exhaustion or heat stroke if you do much strenuous work in the outdoors. You can see it was hot today, 97 degrees. The bad news is it's going to slowly get warmer over the next couple of days. We'll be back to tell you how warm and just how serious the situation is in a moment.
When it gets cold, we make things to keep us warm, like wool coats. When it gets hot, we make cool shirts. The electric heat pump does the same thing because it's one system that keeps your house cool in the summer and warm in the winter. And it does it more efficiently than anything else. So look into an electric heat pump. No better outfit around. Any way you look at it. Whee!
Good afternoon. The heat situation is really starting to get serious in Alabama. The state health department has issued a heat alert for roughly the southern half of Alabama, including Montgomery, Selma, Auburn, and all areas south of those cities. Now, a heat alert means there's a definite threat of heat stroke or other medical problems if you overexert yourself in the outdoors. So stay out of the heat as much as possible, and by all means, check on your elderly friends and relatives who live alone. Remember that the elderly and people who already have health problems are particularly susceptible to the heat. Well, it's cooled off very little in the last few hours. Right now we have 94 hot degrees under partly cloudy skies. What winds we have are generally very light and from the west. The barometric pressure is holding steady at 30 inches of mercury. Now, if you're looking for somebody to blame for all this, you can blame this big high-pressure system down here in the northern Gulf of Mexico. It's held the same, we've had the same weather pattern for the last couple of weeks, and this is the type system and the type weather pattern that we usually don't see until late July or early August. Now, tomorrow morning will bring us very little change in the weather. That high-pressure cell will do little more than drift slowly to the north and sit right off the Alabama, northwest Florida coastline down there for at least the next 2 or 3 days. So it's going to be at least the latter part of the week before we can talk about any relief from this heat wave. You can see that the hottest temperatures in Alabama right now are here in the central part of the state. Huntsville has 90 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Birmingham has the same conditions and 92 degrees. We're still in the mid-90s here in central Alabama, and Mobile reports 92. The forecast for the next couple of days is going to sound more like the weather for Labor Day than for the first week of June. For tonight, fair skies, and tomorrow morning's low only falling to about 75. One word will describe the outlook for tomorrow, and that is hot. Try to restrict your mid-afternoon activities because we'll hit the upper 90s, and we may even see the 100-degree mark before the day is over. Another fair and warm night tomorrow with a low again in the 70s. So I can take the rest of the week off because it's going to be that way through about Friday.
So no rain in the forecast at all?
None at all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tom. Well, next on tonight's newsreel, we'll find out about placing the renovation of the state capitol building on hold. Also, the talent identification program, the outstanding bush hog farm implement dealer, and a frog jumping contest.
With Alabama's state capitol building in dire need of renovation, the state's historical commission has put the renovation on hold. The commission says there's no need to proceed with a $17 million renovation until the Alabama legislature decides whether it will move to the old highway department building permanently or return to the capitol after the renovation. In other news, it was called the Talent Identification Awards program held this weekend at the Montgomery Civic Center. What the program involved was some 192 mathematically and verbally brilliant 7th graders from across the U.S. who took the SAT college entrance exam. The 7th graders scored grades greater than or equal to 85% of SAT scores by high school seniors. Elsewhere, the most outstanding bush hog dealer in the land was honored today. W.C. Nelson of Nelson Tractor Company in Blairsville, Georgia, received the honors from bush hog officials at the company's headquarters in Selma. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Super Frog? Actually, this frog was all a part of the frog jumping contest that took place during the WAKA Day Festival Saturday near Selma.
Well, recruiting headlines the sports tonight. Rich tells me that the process is just ending for one super athlete from Central Alabama, but just getting underway for another one.
Exactly right, Leighton, and you might well know, everybody should know, that the recruiting process is often bizarre. It was in the case of Sylvester Love, but it's now over for him. But it's just beginning for another star Central Alabama athlete, as you will see next on Action 8 Sports.
Look at this beautiful 5-piece solid wood bedroom.
This recruitment has been very confusing. North Alabama, several weeks ago, announced erroneously that it had landed Sylvester. Well, last week at the Boy of the Year banquet, Sylvester was in the audience, and from the podium, it was announced that he had signed with Auburn. But as we said last Friday at this time, Sylvester would officially sign with Southern Mississippi this past weekend. Well, he did, and today he told us he was glad it's all over.
Well, I had narrowed it down between Southern Miss and Huntington, and I chose Southern Miss because I felt that I'd be more comfortable.
Today, after that, Boston's got to win one.
All right. Well, a shortcut from the Midwest to the Gulf of Mexico is formally dedicated at the Port of Mobile. We'll take a look at the celebration next. Predicted to save shippers millions of dollars each year by cutting the distance from the Midwestern states to the Gulf. Well, of course, it was hot in Mobile Saturday and still hot here in Central Alabama, which is why Tom says the Weather Service has an alert warning for us.
And it's going to stay that way through the rest of the week. Highs in the upper 90s to near 100 and a heat index of 110. So we'll talk about that more tonight at 10.
All right. Well, speaking of sunshine and the weather, we have a last word on Florida.
A lot of people will find this interesting from Gainesville. Marshall Kreiser, president of Florida, says he's not accepting them taking his football title away.
All right. Well, good night. Join us again at 10.